All right, hello again, fish-a-lots. In this video, we're going to discuss the phenomenon out there that is the arguments of should you be keeping your fish or should you be letting everything go? And, on Facebook, on YouTube, and everywhere, you just see folks, they post pictures of their stringers, and then all the couch police come out and start telling them how wrong they are and they should be arrested and blah, blah, blah. Given, of course, they don't know what state they're in. They don't know what laws they're fishing under, so on and so forth. So there's two arguments to this right here. One is that people that do catch a lot of fish and post their stringers. Recently, the thing causing all the ruckus is largemouth bass fishing. A lot of people are starting to keep stringers of largemouth bass, and it's getting everybody all worked up. So the argument is, it's my right. I can catch as many fish as I want, and I can kill as many fish as I want, and I'm going to catch and kill as many fish as I want, or I can, and that's wrong. And then the other argument is that they shouldn't be keeping any of it, because largemouth bass or other fish, could be anything, is a game fish or they're limited resources or whatever the case might be. And so the couch police are also wrong. And we're going to cover kind of the in-between ground and really how we should be thinking about this and maybe even treating each other just a little bit nicer on the social media. Holy cow, how is that even possible? All right, so let's cover the first thing here. First and foremost, a lot of folks are fishing under their state regulations. So if they could keep 15 largemouth bass, just for argument's sake, and 25 crappie, and that's their state law, and they're fishing within the law, then really they're okay. Like, that is what their state resource management folks are telling them they could do. And those people are fishing within their law. So they're right to catch and eat fish. They're absolutely correct, because their state says you could do this. And so they're fishing and operating under the law. And look, who doesn't like to go fish and come back with some, free dinner, right? Some free fish. Now, I personally don't like largemouth bass, but crappie are good to eat. Walleye are good to eat. There's lots of fish that are good to eat. And it is nice. You come home, you fillet your fish, and you have a nice dinner with you and the family. And it's free, right? It's not costing you anything. You want to go fish anyway. So it's a great deal. However, the problem is that state regulation and state biologists are often way, way, way behind the eight ball when it comes to actually caring for and conserving the fishery that you're at. So you just got to kind of pay attention. If you are allowed to keep 15 fish, do you really want to fish to your bag limit of 15 fish? And that is actually a risk with all fisheries out there when you have bag limits. This happened with yellowfin tuna, where before there was no bag limit for yellowfin tuna. So very often people would fish for tuna, catch tuna, when they thought they had enough meat or enough fish, they would stop fishing and go home. All of a sudden they put a three fish per person bag limit on tuna. And then all of a sudden people were fishing up to that limit, regardless if they thought they had enough food or not, because that bag limit determined if that was a successful day out on the water or not. And that is hugely problematic, because a lot of folks are taking a lot more fish than what the fishery can handle. So just keeping that in mind, self-regulation is like hugely important here. So are the couch warriors correct that you shouldn't be keeping any fish and you're terrible if you do? Absolutely not. You should catch fish and eat fish and keep fish if you want to eat them, and it's legal to do so. But we also just need to keep in mind that just keeping as many fish as we want, or killing as many fish as we want, or just being conscious of our conservation overall is hugely important. And we do have a responsibility, I believe anyway, to kind of keep things as nice or better. Well, leave it better than when we came into it, right? For younger generations, right? Like my kids, you see them on the videos all the time. When they grow up, I want them to be able to catch fish. I want there to be fish around, especially in lakes and rivers and different systems like that. And so if everybody had the mentality, I have to fish for my bag limit all the time, or I'm just not even going to pay attention to bag limits, I have a right to catch and kill as many things as I want because there's unlimited resources, that would be wrong. And you would be wrong, in my opinion. Now, the couch warriors, on the other hand, need to relax a little bit too here. It kind of makes me laugh that these bass anglers are getting all sorts of worked up that people are keeping bass, stringers of bass, post them on Facebook. Everybody gets all worked up, starts yelling at them. I mean, and then they start directing them to kill other fish like crappie or bluegill or fish that are quote unquote better to eat. And that kind of makes no sense because the bass eat the bluegill, the bass eat little crappie. You know, it all works together, right? So, I mean, I don't know why is killing one fish way better than killing another. So all these, and it's mostly tournament anglers, by the way, right? So these tournament anglers will show up, they'll kill a ton of fish doing those, you know, those weigh-in processes, which is just absolutely terrible. I've made plenty of videos on that before. They do these weigh-in processes where the fish are in the boat all day, they're in these bags, and they're killing tons of fish, right? There's lots of studies on post-release mortality. And you know, so these guys are saying, well, when we have a tournament, we'll come by and we'll bag all these fish, put them in the boats, release them far away from where we caught them, but you're not allowed to catch and eat any fish because largemouth bass are a treasure. So go kill the crappie, go kill the walleye, go kill any other fish but the bass. So, you know, that's also kind of dumb. Here's a couple of things to keep in mind for self-conservation. One, you could have these limits on fish where you're going to keep and kill a lot of big fish, right? So it'll be like keep a fish over, I'm just going to make up a number, right? Let's say a striped bass. You're going to keep a fish, anything over 28 inches, over 36 inches, whatever. Well, for years, fisheries management practices did that, and that was killing the fisheries. Because quite frankly, killing the big fish, those are your breeding fish. Those are the fish that ran through the gauntlet and made it. Those are the genes that you want in the gene pool. So when you catch a really nice fish, make sure you're letting that fish go because those are your breeders. I know it's hard because they're big. There's probably more meat on them, but those are your big fish. Those are the fish that are going to repopulate the lakes and be able to defend the fry and make the eggs and all that kind of stuff and not be eaten by predators. They're big, they're smart, they're experienced. That is, a fish just jumped over there. I'm going to try and catch him. I like fishing and doing these videos, by the way. But, you know, it's tough to get into your mind to let go of the big fish, but that really is a huge benefit. So nowadays, using striped bass as an example, you are not allowed to keep the big ones, right? You have to throw back any fish that is really big because that is your breeding female fish. So you're actually allowed to eat some of the juveniles that haven't quite made it to the point of breeding yet, right? But in a lot of states, you're not allowed to keep the very big fish. And so I would encourage you, if you are crappie fishing, if you are bass fishing, whatever fish you might be fishing for, if you do catch a really big fish, well, think about letting that big one go and making up your bag limit of some smaller non-breeding fish. Now, the other thing with self-regulation is, you know, come up with your own bag limits. Just because the state or the federal government says you're allowed to keep, you know, 3 tuna a person, let's say, and you got 6 people on the boat, well, what are you going to do with, you know, 18 tuna that are all close to 100 pounds, right? That's going to be a ridiculous amount of meat. There's no need to fish to your bag limit. You could always just self-regulate, right? Hey, we got enough fish today. Or how about we fish only 2 fish a person instead of 5 fish a person, we let the rest go. Or once we hit our limit, we go home. Something like that. Or once we limit our limit, we'll fish for something else. That is totally acceptable, and it's what I do on the channel quite often. We go perch fishing. We have a limit. We just don't keep everything. This is a black fishing video where we kept 2 fish per person, even though we were allowed 5. Tuna fishing, you know, we cut our trips short to go home because we just had enough fish. We do it all the time, and I show that to you on the channel all the time. I would really encourage you to do that because that is just a great way to help preserve the fisheries and keep yourself a little more honest than even the state biologists or the laws want you to be honest. That's just a recommendation. Again, if you're fishing within the law, you know, there's nothing wrong with that. You are abiding by your state or your federal regs, but just something to keep in mind and maybe put those couch warriors to bay a little bit saying, hey, look, yeah, I caught this stringer, but yesterday I let them all go. You know, something like that. Now, the other issue is fish care. There's a lot of catch and release practices out there that are just absolutely terrible and killing a ton of fish. Fish care is hugely important. If you're doing catch and release, you want to make sure that the fish that you do release live and do make it to another day to make more baby fish for you to catch and enjoy. So if you are interested in proper catch and release techniques, go ahead and click on this video right here where I go deep into a lot of mistakes people will make that are actually killing a lot of fish out there, even though there's some folks with some really good intentions. Just a little bit more education out there. All right, thanks, fish lots. I'll see you out there on the water.